reason most conversations are unsatisfying isn't a lack of smart things to say. It's a lack of genuine connection. We'll show you the single, counterintuitive communication skill that instantly commands respect and makes every interaction meaningful.
Okay, let's just dive right into this. That feeling you get, you know the one, that sense of disconnection in a meeting, a negotiation, or even just talking with someone you care about, that's not an accident. It's a symptom of a fundamental breakdown in how we communicate. And today, we're gonna fix it. We're gonna give you a system, a framework that replaces that frustration with real influence and deep respect.
So here's our roadmap for this explainer. Think of it like a 6-part masterclass. We're gonna start with the core paradox of power in any conversation. Then we'll diagnose the problem, what we call the communication gap. From there, we build the solution, the active listening framework and the hard science that proves it works. And we'll finish with an exact 3-step protocol you can literally use today to transform your very next conversation. All right, let's get into our first section, the paradox of power. This is where we completely flip the script on what it means to be a powerful communicator. It's not about talking more, it's about listening with more intention. This right here, this slide nails a huge misunderstanding we all have about communication. Conventional wisdom practically screams at us that to be seen as smart, as a leader, you've got to have the right answers, right? The witty comeback, the perfect closing argument. You have to speak well. But the strategic reality, the one that top performers live by, is that true power, real influence, is achieved by mastering intentional silence first. Your input only has value after you have fully, and I mean demonstratably, absorbed what the other person is saying. Otherwise, you're really just adding to the noise. And that brings us to the core skill. We call it active listening, but don't let that word listening fool you. This is not a passive activity. It's a strategic, high-effort practice. It's the conscious choice to suspend your internal monologue. You know, that little voice in your head that's always planning what to say next, so that you can create a space for genuine connection. This right here is the foundation where all respect is built. Okay, so this brings us to section 2, where we diagnose the problem with some scientific precision. Why are so many of our conversations just unsatisfying? Well, it all comes down to something we call the communication gap. So the root cause of this gap, it has a name, cognitive filtering. I want you to think of it like an invisible wall between you and the person you're talking to. It's built brick by brick by that relentless internal monologue. As someone is talking, you're not actually absorbing their words. Nope, you're planning a rebuttal, judging their idea, or running what they say through the filter of your own biases, like confirmation bias. You're just waiting for your turn to talk, not actually listening to understand. And the cost of this gap is massive. It's not just some vague, fuzzy feeling of frustration. We're talking about wasted time in meetings that go around in circles because no one is hearing the real issues. It's broken trust because people can feel when you're not present, when you're just waiting to jump in. Professionally, it leads to high error rates, misunderstood instructions, bad strategies, all because critical information wasn't absorbed. And personally, it creates that persistent, draining feeling of not being heard, and that just erodes relationships. So, that's the problem. It's systemic, it's costly. Now, let's pivot to the solution. Section 3, the active listening framework. This is a systematic, repeatable way to take control of your attention. The framework is built on 3 distinct phases, just like you see here. It all starts with preparation and presence. That's consciously shutting down your internal planning. Then it moves into the reflection and paraphrasing loop, where you repeat back the speaker's core message. And it finishes with non-judgmental inquiry, using open-ended questions to go deeper. We're gonna break down each one. Phase 1, presence, starts before you even open your mouth. It's the decision to turn down the volume on your internal monologue. Why? Because research shows that up to 80% of communication is nonverbal. Tone of voice, body language, facial expressions, this is where the real message lives. And you miss all of it, every single cue, if you're stuck inside your own head planning your next brilliant sentence. Presence is a strategic choice. Now we get to the absolute heart of the system, reflection. This is the core engine right here. This isn't just about repeating words back like a parrot. It's about processing what they said, boiling it down to its core meaning and the feeling behind it, and then reflecting it back to them for confirmation. This single move does 2 critical things. It forces your brain to process the information correctly, and it gives the speaker undeniable proof that they have been heard. This is the exact moment connection is forged. The third phase is inquiry. So after you've reflected and confirmed you get it, you don't jump in with your big solution. Not yet. You create more space. Simple, open-ended phrases like, "Tell me more," or "How did you arrive at that conclusion?" are incredibly powerful. They aren't questions looking for a specific answer. They're invitations. They encourage the speaker to go deeper, creating a safe space for them to reveal the real insights and the true nature of the issue. So that's the what. But for this to really stick, for this to become a non-negotiable skill, you have to understand the why. And that brings us to Section 4, the neuroscience of respect. This isn't just some nice-to-have communication tactic. It's a system designed to work with our brain chemistry. So here's the crucial point. When you use that reflection loop to validate someone, you are giving them a powerful neurological reward. Seriously, giving someone undeniable proof that they've been seen and heard triggers a release of neurochemicals like oxytocin, the social bonding hormone, and dopamine, which is tied to pleasure and reward. You are literally making the other person's brain feel good just by being in a conversation with you. That is the biochemical foundation of trust and rapport. And beyond that chemical reward, your presence has another direct impact on the speaker's brain. It actually helps to calm their limbic system. That's the primal part of the brain responsible for the fight or flight response. When a speaker feels truly heard instead of judged, their defensiveness just melts away. Their anxiety drops and they can think more clearly. You're not just listening, you're creating the perfect neurological conditions for clear communication. And finally, there's a huge benefit for you, the listener. The act of intentionally shutting down your internal monologue is hard work. It's a high-effort workout for your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that handles focus, discipline, and executive function. Every time you practice this, you aren't just improving that one conversation, you're strengthening your brain's overall capacity for sustained attention. You're literally training your focus muscle. Okay, we've covered the what and the why. Now for the most important part, the how. Section 5. The 3-step protocol. This is your actionable guide to putting this to work immediately. Here it is, your non-negotiable protocol for any high-stakes conversation. 3 simple, clear steps to put this entire framework into action. First, the neural pause. Second, deploy the reflection and paraphrasing loop. And third, use the 2-word action log. Master these 3 and you master the whole system. Let's make this super concrete. Step 1 is the neural pause. Before the conversation starts, you commit to saying nothing but clarifying questions for the first 5 minutes. You just absorb. Then, when the speaker makes a key point, you execute step 2, using this exact phrase. If I understand correctly, the core issue is X, and you are feeling Y. Is that right? Now, notice that structure. You identify the logic, that's X, and the emotion, that's Y. Then you ask for confirmation. This formula is so powerful because it validates both the content and the feeling behind it, which is the key to making someone feel truly understood. Okay, step 3 is the 2-word action log. Look, taking a ton of notes is a distraction. It pulls you out of the moment and right back into your own head. Instead, keep a notepad, and for each major point the speaker makes, force yourself to write down only the 2 most important words. This 2-word rule forces your brain to actively filter for what's most important, keeping you laser-focused on the real message without the distraction of trying to write everything down. Which brings us to our final section, your next conversation. This is where we distill everything down to one final takeaway and give you a direct challenge. Just let that sink in for a second. This is the single distilled lesson of this entire explainer. Respect, influence, connection. They are not earned by what you say. They are earned by the quality of attention you give. People don't remember every single word you said, but they will never, ever forget how you made them feel. Making someone feel truly heard is the most powerful and respectful feeling you can possibly provide. So here's the final takeaway. Active listening. It solves the problem of miscommunication and our own minds wandering off. And why this matters so much is that it gives you a systematic way to command respect and build trust instantly. The reflection loop and the neural pause. That's a framework for providing neurological validation to others, which in turn strengthens your own ability to stay focused. So stop preparing your next sentence. Start hearing the person in front of you. Use the reflection loop in your very next conversation today. Remember, productivity isn't about doing more. It's about mastering systems that make focus effortless.